day everyone and good day sir. By the way, I am Suzane from BSBA 3A student. So today I will discuss about the rules of the quantity of the predicate. So it is specifies how much of the subject is being included in or not included in the predicate class. So natin upat ka types of standard from which is the capital letter A, E, I, and O. The following are the rules in determining the quantity of the predicate. So first is all affirmative propositions always have particular or undistributed predicate term. Affirmative propositions mauni ang nag-states na ang subject is contained within the predicate, so all subject is predicate. Then next is the second is all negative propositions always have universal or distributed predicate terms. So ang tanan ng negative propositions kay sum S is P. It excludes the subject from the predicate. Next is the foregoing rules require us to take the following conclusions. First, that A and I propositions have particular predicate terms. So A and I is a types of standard form. We also have a quantifiers and copulas. When we say quantifiers, mao na siya ang mga words like all, some, no, kay mao ni ang nagadetermine sa quantity or how much of the subject class is or is not in the predicate class. So wala na lain nga words ang magamit as quantifiers is standard form proposition. So naasad tayo gitawag nga copulas. Ang words ani kay are and are not. Kay ang copulas mao na ang nagakonect sa subject o predicate, same root as copulate. So wala sad siya lain magamit nga words as copulas. Examples: A, all students are industrious. So ang students is subject, are is copulas, and industrious is predicate. Second or number 2, that E and O propositions have universal predicate terms. So sometimes means some S are not P and that's O statement, and sometimes means no S are P. So mauna examples. E, no students are industrious. So students is the subject and R is the copulas and industrious is the predicate. Then O, some students are not industrious. Next is the Venn-Euler diagrams. So Euler diagrams na ara siya intersection combinations that actually exist in the real world. Then ang Venn diagrams nagrepresent siya every hypothetically possible logical relation between categories, or ang Venn diagrams kay have to display ang every possible intersection combinations, which is create some interesting layout issues. All affirmative proposition A and I always have particular predicate terms, which means that the predicate terms of A and I propositions are contained in the comprehensions totally of the subject term, so that the subject and predicate terms are identified each other. And by the use of Venn diagram, or introduced by John Venn 1834 to 1923, a fellow of Cambridge University and a cleric in the Anglican Church, and Euler diagram, graphic illustration of the structure of categorical propositions introduced by Euler. Mathematicians, we can better determine how the predicate term is related to the subject term relative to extension or quantity. So, naatay duha ka kinds of quantification. Ang first or number 1 is universal quantification. So kung moingon ganit tag universal quantification, maunang para sa tanan, for all, for every, for each, or etc. Ang iyang statement sad kay universally true, tinuod siya. Example, all squares have 4 sides. Yes, tanan nga squares na abiya jud na upat ka sides. Then next, all charcoal are black. Yes, ang charcoal is color black, wala jud kay makita nga color white ana. Then last example is no whales are horses. Yes, ang horses walay whales, pero kusog mo dagan. So that's what universal quantification is. Then number 2 is existential quantification. So meaning, for some, there exists, there is one. So dili tanan tama. So ibig sabihin na ang uban ra ang tama, dili ang tanan jud. Like for example, some lawyers are pressed. So dili tanan lawyers kay pressed. Next is some Supreme Court justice are women. Sa Supreme Court justice na sa BI mga laki, dili lang kay babae ra. Last example is some politicians are journalists. So yes, dili tanan ang politicians kay journalists. So in short, ang universal quantification kay ang tanan tama, while ang existential quantification kay dili tanan tama. So the next slide is, so here, a proposition, all Filipinos are Asians. The S here is the Filipinos and the P is Asians. So this one is example of universal quantification. And then, so this diagrams is an example of Euler diagrams. Then this one is an example of Venn diagrams. In above example, the predicate term Asians contains the comprehension totally of the subject term Filipinos, since legally any Filipino citizen is geographically, not necessarily from the standpoint of race, Asian. However, not all Asians are Filipino. This is why only part of the extension of the predicate term Asians is identified with the subject term Filipinos. Hence, we can argue all Filipinos are Asians, but not all Asians are Filipino. So next, I propositions. Some Filipinos are OCWS or overseas contract workers. So the S here is Filipinos and the P is the OCWS or overseas contract workers. And this is an example of existential quantification. And of course, this diagrams is Euler diagrams and the other one is Venn diagrams. In this example, only a part of the extension of the predicate term OCWS or overseas contract workers is identified with the subject term Filipinos. In this regard, it can be said that only a part of the compensation or totally of the whole Filipino population is identified or contained in the predicate term OCWS or overseas contract workers. And this obviously means that not all Filipinos are OCWS. Thus, the quantity of the predicate term OCWS or overseas contract workers is particular. So I guess that's all of my PowerPoint presentation, and thank you for listening and goodbye.